Hi there, are you somebody who's in pain and you'd like to feel better? Well, if so, friend, make sure you're not making this one mistake. Hi there, my name is Morgan Risden and I'm the creator of Center Studio, where I teach people skills to feel more comfortable more often, and I create videos like this one. Now, if this is your first time to my channel, friend, welcome. I'm really glad that you're here, and I hope if you enjoy today's content, you'll do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. There's also a notification bell that lets you know every week when I upload my next new video if you choose. And of course, feel free to check out some of my other videos as well. Leave comments below with what you would like to learn more about. I look forward to hearing from you. Now, are you somebody who finds that you're uncomfortable, maybe you're even in pain, and you want to have skills or tools that you can use to feel better? Well, today I wanted to talk with you about what mistake a lot of my students are making when it comes to their day-to-day life. And this is something I find myself repeating even after a long lesson, even after a 60-minute private lesson, or even after a group class. I find myself catching students and saying, wait, this is an example of that. So the biggest mistake I see people make is they don't take advantage of what I consider to be these micro moments that are existing in their everyday life. Now, what is a micro moment the way I'm defining it? A micro moment is something that is 30 seconds to a minute, maybe even 2 minutes, and it's a moment that would otherwise be passed by, would be ignored, would not be really considered because, I'm already thinking about my next task. I'm already thinking about where I'm going or what I'm doing, and I miss an opportunity to be more comfortable. Now, what does this look like? For example, this might mean that you're in the grocery store and let's say you're carrying a backpack and you've got your laptop in there, or maybe you've got a heavy purse that you're carrying a little extra items in today, and you notice that it's particularly heavy. Now, nothing crazy, but would it feel better in the next minute or two as you're standing in the line to relieve your shoulder for a moment, take it off of your shoulder and either hold it with both hands or even put it in between your feet, so that your back, your shoulders, your neck doesn't have to bear that weight? And if the answer is yes, do you actually do that? Right? Now you might be saying, well, Morgan, there's only 1 or 2 people in front of me in the line. I'm gonna have to pick it up in a second. So what? So what, friend? I just stood in a security line as I was traveling to New York City last weekend, and you better believe that I put down my backpack and then I stood there for just 15 seconds before I picked it back up again and put it down. Now, is that a lot of repetition over and over again as I'm making my way through the security line for 10, 15 minutes? Maybe, but my back and my neck and my shoulders don't hurt. So I like to encourage students to think about what kinds of moments exist in their day-to-day life that they could make adjustments, make accommodations to make themselves feel better. Now, this often shows up in a lot of students' private lessons towards the end, especially when people go to put on their shoes. I see them, maybe another student has arrived, they're on their way out, and instead of taking a moment to sit down and put on their shoes so that they're seated, they're comfortable, oftentimes I see people struggling. They're sort of bending over, picking up one leg, balancing on the other foot, trying to put on a shoe, in sort of this rush to get the task completed, right? In order to get the shoe on so that they can get out the door and they're not bothering me or they're not taking up more time. And it's this idea that they're gonna go faster, that they're going to complete the task quicker, or maybe not appear rude and inconsiderate of my time or my next student's time. And again, that's a micro moment. That's a moment where they could actually take their shoes, look around, and maybe they'd even say, well, let me come out of this space. You can start your next lesson and I'll finish putting my shoes on over here. It's this opportunity that students oftentimes miss because they're so focused on what's coming up next. And I'm gonna ask you, can you find a few micro moments in your day-to-day life? What are some times when you could find yourself stopping, pausing, making an adjustment so that you could feel better most immediately, even if in a minute or two, it's gonna change, right? Now, this can also be something that you can think of as stopping in the middle of a task and finding a way to say, wait a minute, am I actually really comfortable? Or you could even think about this as a moment when you're with other people. Somebody says, oh, have a seat, and you sit in the only chair that you see in the room, as opposed to asking somebody, Is it possible I could use that chair in the other room? Can I bring it in here because that would be more comfortable? Or maybe adjusting to the temperature, saying, can we sit outside? Because I feel like it's a really nice day out and my body would feel more comfortable than in maybe this environment where there's a lot of AC and it just doesn't feel quite as comfortable as if we were getting fresh air. Now, these are things that, again, sometimes people are less comfortable making these requests because, to be honest, people don't like to ask for things. Is that true? I don't know if that's true. I feel like a lot of people tend not to, how am I going to say that? In my experience, a lot of people tend to avoid making requests or asking for things that they might need, unless, of course, their need is so great, right? Meaning that I am so parched, I'm going to ask my friend to inconvenience them before we leave for wherever we're going. Can I get a glass of water, right? It's usually so much so that they have no other option, that they say, oh, you know what? I pulled a muscle and I actually cannot do what you're asking me to do. Can you go get me a pillow to put my foot up or to be able to sit down comfortably? Because I really cannot sit like that with my leg the way that it is. And unless they need it, they tend, a lot of people tend not to ask. And again, it's these smaller moments that, especially when we're healthy, we're feeling great, we're feeling good, keep it up. Just because nothing hurts, my friend, doesn't mean your body isn't asking you to pay attention. I'm going to repeat that because it's so important. Just because nothing hurts doesn't mean it's not important to pay attention to it. When can you find an opportunity to make yourself feel better immediately so that you can benefit days to come, months to come, years to come, right? If we take care of ourselves in everyday life, we will find over time that our body is much more forgiving. Our body is willing to work with us because we're not always asking a little too much. We're not always pushing it a little bit to the edge. And think about how many times, I don't know about you, because you're not an Alexander Technique teacher. However, I try to think about how many times I've heard a student tell me, Morgan, I don't really know what I did. I just bent over, I was picking up a spoon, I was reaching in the back of my car, and then I pulled my back, I pulled my shoulder, my neck went out, and I just couldn't turn. It's usually the smallest of the smallest things that trigger a sort of bigger problem for a lot of students that I see. And these smaller moments are sort of the straw that breaks the camel's back. I mean, I guess there's a reason for such a saying, right? And so if you think about, instead of always pushing our bodies to the limit, finding ways to help our body feel better. How can we adjust a situation so that you can take advantage of all those micro moments? Then be sure to leave a comment below. Let me know, when have you missed opportunities? Or maybe when have you taken advantage of things? When have you stopped for a moment and said, hey, I think this would help me feel better? Now, I hope you enjoyed today's video, friend. Of course, if you did, be sure to leave a comment below. Also, you can hit that like button and subscribe. All of those things really help me out a lot, and I appreciate it. All right, until next time, take care. Ciao.